Oi, pessoal, eu sou Catarina Moraes e hoje eu tô aqui com a Alessia Cara. Hi, Alessia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. My name is Katharina, and I wanted to start off by asking about your single Dead Man, because after 4 years, you're back with the single, and I wanted to know what motivated you to release this track now.
I think for me, when I was listening to the whole album, I, was thinking of like what would be the best way to come back and like what would be the best way to tell the first part of the story, right? And so Dead Man just felt like sonically like the right thing. It was like different enough that it felt like growth for me, and it was, maybe make my fans happy and excited
Yeah.
if there's something like fresh and new from me. But also just sonically, lyrically, I think it tells the story or the first part of the story in the best way, because this album is very much about like letting go of control and then finding happiness.
Yeah.
And so this song is like about the first part of that, where you're like still in denial to like let go of control, and you kind of don't want to yet, so it felt like the perfect beginning to tell the rest of the story. Yeah, and it's been a long time. I'm very excited to be back.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's very good to have you back, because in your third album, in the meantime, you also explored like some Brazilian bossa nova influences. And like you said, when you hear Dead Man, it's a very different, like there's instruments that like the trumpet, and it's a very jazzy song. It has that influence. And I wanted to know, is there like what themes and influences can we expect from this new album?
There's a lot of different sounds on this album, I think. Well, all the sounds are kind of different for me. They're all different kind of from each other as well. Like, I think like there's a little bit of jazz influence. There's a little bit of rock influence. There's, singer-songwriter influence. Yeah, so it's kind of just like a little collection of like all of my favorite sounds that I love as a music fan, and just trying to incorporate them into a contemporary setting, So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like a little mix of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I think like in a composition of an album, it can be like there are many types of ways to incorporate different types of sounds. And I thought it was very interesting because in another interview that you mentioned that music can be like your form of therapy. And it was a very interesting, Dead Man is a very interesting and profound lyrics because it's, it's a kind of scary like situation. And I wanted to know like how did like the relationship with your music like help you navigate through, sometimes crisis and sometimes like hard situations?
It really, music for me is a huge, huge, huge outlet and lifesaver a lot of the time when it comes to me processing emotions. Just because, I don't know, I find that I'm very expressive musically and very honest musically, but a lot of the time I'm not always able to like express exactly how I feel just in regular conversation all the time, because I get very in my head. I live like very much in here. And so getting that out or getting that across to other people or even to myself in the moment is very difficult for me. So music is just a way for me to like help process my feelings in a way that I can like lay them out and understand, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. This is how I feel. This is what I should do, So it's a really big, like, it's not only just a comfort for me. I think it helps me like actually process things and like problem solve a little bit.
That makes sense. And because you're like a very big songwriter, so how do you over the years feel like your songs in general, when you write them, they have evolved or maybe changed in some ways? How do you see that change happening in your songs?
I do. I think I've become a lot more free as a songwriter, and just tried to like say the most honest possible thing. Whereas before, I think I was still trying to prove myself as a songwriter. So I was like more focused on like how to make it a little bit more interesting, or how to hide what I really meant, through like in a metaphor so that people wouldn't really understand. Because I was still too scared to like really put myself out there emotionally. But I think this time around, like I just found that for this project, I was able to be a lot more open, a lot more simple with what I was saying, because I wasn't as afraid to just say what it was. I wasn't afraid of like hurting myself or people having an opinion. So I feel like I've just become a lot more, I guess, even more honest than I was. And I do think I was very honest, even like my second album onwards. Like when I started writing everything myself. I've still always been very honest, but I think I was just a little bit more afraid. And so now, just feel more open, and I feel more free.
Oh, that makes sense. And how do you process and finding inspiration in this new project? What was your biggest turn point? Because of the time also, like the 4-year gap, it's a amount like a large amount of time. So how was it for you to find the inspiration in that time?
Honestly, at first it was a little bit challenging. I took a lot of time off in between this album and the last, because I just found that I was in a bit of a rut, like writing wise and even emotionally. It was just really hard for me to find inspiration. I think because I didn't really have a lot of experiences to write about, and I wasn't ready to process certain feelings. So I was just for a long time, not writing anything, not singing, not picking up a guitar, not really listening to much music. I just really had to reset and figure out a way to live a bit of regular life, get out in the world, heal myself a little bit before I was able to start again. But then, once I had that period of time to just get back to the innocence of why I started music in the first place, and get back to just a good place emotionally, then I was able to write again. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't take that little bit of a break to experience life,
Yeah, that makes sense. And you feel because like we said before, you blend types of R&B, there's some jazz and pop in your songs. And do you feel this time that you stopped and even stopped playing for a period of a little time process now, do you feel like you have learned more about what styles do you like best and what types of songs? Because I feel like you started at a very young age. So I imagine that you now have maybe more maturity to see the other types of songs that you can explore.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I definitely at this point in my life feel like I have a way more broad spectrum of sounds that I can pull from. And that is because I was able to just let myself experiment and try new things and not be so scared to go a little bit left or right, I think in the beginning of your career, you kind of feel a bit of pressure to stay the same, because everybody, might love something that you did that sounds a specific way. And then if you try to do something different, they're like, well, we don't want you to do that. We liked when you were doing this. And you kind of have to let go of that fear a little bit, especially at this point in my career. I feel old enough. I feel mature enough that I think earned to some degree a chance to explore. And it's just really exciting. I feel like this album has so many new sounds that I have never really tried before. So it's really fun.
Oh, that's nice. And just to finish off, because the last time that you were here in Brazil, you did an amazing festival. I think everyone that saw your show was very captivated by your musicality. And I wanted to know if you have any plans. What are your plans for, the periods? Do you feel like you're going to come to Brazil? Is there any chance? And after you released your album?
Well, definitely I would love to tour this album. I think that will happen. I didn't get to tour the last project, which was really sad because COVID and all that stuff. So I'm itching to get back out there again. And specifically to come back to Brazil would be incredible because the fans there, as you guys know, are top notch. Everybody's just so kind and so open, and I just love the culture. So anytime I get an excuse to go there would be amazing.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, thank you so much. That was it. It was lovely to speak with you, and congratulations on your new single. And I imagine your album's going to be amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Então é isso, pessoal. Essa foi a entrevista. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Não esquece de curtir, compartilhar e segue a gente nas nossas redes sociais. Tchau, tchau e até a próxima.